I need to move you more. Really, it's not a good time for my laptop to start having a funny 5 minutes. Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us so promptly. We've got a couple of people still joining us. I think we'll just wait a couple of seconds just to give the last few people a chance to join us. Hopefully you can hear me. You should find little tools like raise your hand and ask a question in your panel. So please do that if you need to ask anything as we go along. And it would be rather good at this point if somebody could just confirm that they can hear me okay before we get started. Somebody would be kind enough to do that. Brilliant, thank you, Colin. And I think a few people have raised their hands, which is brilliant. Fabulous. Okay, so hopefully the majority of people that had signed up and joined us, and it's really, really great to see such a lovely audience. Thank you for joining our first marketing focused webinar. I'm really delighted to be joined by Richard Knight and Lewis Early from GetCrisp. Some of you do already know them, I know. We work very much in partnership with GetCrisp. They assist us in many areas of our marketing capability, and it's great that they're going to join us today to provide some kind of general market insights to add to the agenda for today. Just to cover off the agenda, what we're going to cover. So Rich is going to kick us off with some industry insights. I'm going to then dive into some marketing enablement from a Pragma perspective, and Lewis is going to then take us on to looking at some organic growth in a crowded market and some tips and tricks as to how to go about that. And then Rich is going to close us out with a little bit more on the marketing support that GetCrisp are able to offer. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rich, who's going to take us into our first little session. So Rich, over to you.
Great, thanks, Helen. So yeah, I'm just going to try and give hopefully some useful industry insights, and also hopefully some bits that you can take away and start looking at yourself. Same with Lewis later on in the session. He'll be giving you some actionable things you can do to improve from an organic SEO perspective, and help increase your search volume. So really just want to quickly run through this. We've been running GetCrisp for 6 years now, and kind of 95% of our clients are either tech or telecoms clients. So obviously we all understand that telecoms and tech is different to a lot of industries in that it's extremely competitive online. So it really is important to kind of make sure you stand out, but not only that, you really do have to put the work in to start ranking. So yeah, just to touch on some of the details that I'm going to share with you. So essentially we monitor insights across all of our client base. So that's kind of analytics, trends, and various other metrics. And we use those to improve kind of everyone's campaigns. Not only that, we look outside and just look at kind of market wide, what's working, what's not working. I just want to take you through kind of 3 key points this morning. So just to talk and touch a little bit on content and what we're seeing in the industries working in terms of frequency of posting content and length, really. So we see that customers or or customers of ours or other tech and telecoms companies who create one blog post per month tend to see around a 20 to 25% increase in organic traffic. However, the clients that have one blog post a week, we generally see more than 100% increase annually in traffic, sometimes a lot higher than that. We've recently had a single blog post for a client, actually had a fair amount of traffic anyway, and they actually increased their traffic in a single month by around 500%. That was solely because there's something called position 0 within Google. So organic ranking positions, you have position 1, which is the top organic position. But above that, you might have noticed it before. Generally, it's something like Wikipedia. So Google looks fondly on Wikipedia because it's just a source of information, has no other agenda. But you can actually rank for position 0. And that comes up above position 1 in Google with a large area of space used. So that generally drives a lot of traffic. But as a rule, we see at least 100% increase in organic traffic if you're posting once a week. It's not solely about the frequency of posting though. Actually, we've had a look across all of the articles for our own clients, but also outside in the industry as well. And actually, articles for SEO value, if they have less than 800 words, we tend to find that they don't really have much traction in terms of SEO. You're almost better doing less articles, but better quality with more words than just pushing out stuff every other day. The real sweet spot we see for blog articles is around 1,200 words, but 800 words as a minimum just to get recognized with Google. Other things we tend to look at, and this is just been run across some single keywords here, but we also look at search trends and constantly monitor search trends. This can be obviously used to guide content to a degree, but Lewis will talk a bit more about a content strategy later and show you a bit more detail. But some interesting things here that we're seeing is actually some of what we class as old school telecoms terms are still very high in search volume. So we have terms like PBX, which obviously is deemed as an old term with new cloud technologies and cloud phone systems, but we're still seeing around 1,900 searches per month on that in the UK. Unified communications is slightly underneath, and then actually the cloud phone system searches are still a lot lower. This isn't all of the data that we use. Obviously, another thing that you've got to be aware of, although the search volume is higher on terms like PBX, so this is showing the trend over time for the search term PBX. You can see back in 2004, it peaked at its most popular. So score of 100 is essentially the most popular it's ever been. And it's tailing off, so it's continuing to downward trend. Although it's important to look at terms that have got a decent amount of search volume, what we try and do is actually pick keywords that have a lower search volume but are trending upwards. So although things like cloud phone system are lower search volumes, they're trending upwards, and it's easier to start ranking for keywords if you get them at the bottom of a trend trending upwards than it is getting them at the top and trending downwards. The kind of point I wanted to make here though is it's not worth ignoring the old blog posts and old content you might have created around PBX. One really quick and easy tip for generating more traction on these keywords is actually going and renewing some of your old blog posts and your old service page content and referencing both products. Google look really fondly on content that is updated regularly. One thing I wanted to point out here, which was actually based on a good question Helen asked yesterday, is when we're creating blog content, obviously it can be for different reasons. So if you're creating a blog post that's solely information for existing clients, which is being shared on social, you don't need to look to hit the 800 to 1200 word count if it's solely for SEO purposes, if you're wanting to create longer blog posts. Final thing to touch on, we're doing fairly short and quick sessions here to try and keep you all engaged. But also we have a look at various analytics across social platforms, and we've done some kind of in-depth analysis on LinkedIn engagement and content types that's really working on LinkedIn currently. So we're actually seeing that video and animation is it really gets a lot more engagement than a solely text and single image post. We see almost twice the amount of engagement as a rule if it's got video or animation rather than just a single image. So if you have the know-how or an in-house marketing team, I'd really be looking to push that video and animated content to get engagement from potential new clients, but also your existing clients as well. We're also seeing really good traction on LinkedIn articles. So for those of you who don't know what a LinkedIn article or haven't used them before, LinkedIn articles are essentially a longer article that can be posted by a person. So it'll be posted on an individual's accounts rather than a company account. Kind of blog length, but something interesting about the LinkedIn articles is only 0.2% of users who are on LinkedIn actually post articles. But LinkedIn is also one of the platforms that gets social platforms that gets the most engagement. So if you could be one of the 0.2% of users who post those longer articles, you really do see a massive improvement on engagement. Another really simple way of getting more engagement, if you don't have video or animation resource in-house, is a multi PDF post. So you can actually create images or infographics and add multiple graphics to a LinkedIn post. We're almost seeing as much engagement on those as we are on video and animation. It also makes it a lot easier to get kind of a bigger message across. So you can use multiple images with text or infographics on, rather than writing too much in a LinkedIn post. You tend to find people don't read it unless it's a longer article. So I think I'm pretty much there, bang on with my 10 minutes. So just to quickly summarize, the 3 key things I'd say to take away is, if you can, 1 blog post per week, minimum of 800 words, you'll see the best results from that. Keep an eye out for search trends to guide your content. So Google Trends is a great free tool that you can use to look at search trends. You can put in multiple keywords and see how they're doing, whether they're trending upwards, whether they're trending downwards. And then use different content types for LinkedIn. So we've looked at 3 different content types that are really working for engagement, but try and mix it up. So I'm not saying don't do just text and image posts, but try and mix in 1 or 2 different either video or multiple page PDFs in each week with your content. Okay, I think I'm going to hand back over to Helen now.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Rich. That's a really useful insight. Share my screen again. I hope everyone's really impressed with the fact I decided to dress to clash really badly with my background this morning. Apologies for that. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the next little section, which is on marketing enablement. And I I'm not entirely sure how many of you were able to attend the Ideas Lab that took place on the 9th of June. So apologies if some of you did see the session I did there. I'm going to touch a little bit on some of the things that I presented at that time, but I'm also going to expand a little bit more on some of the areas that I touched on then too. So I guess the point here is that, you know, all of our businesses thrive when we grow. It's really, really important. And our job and our function within the marketing teams is to help generate, you know, activity and helping the sales teams to be able to have more opportunity to sell more. And it might be that we need to win more new business, and that's lots and lots of customers that we can sell to gain a cloud seat. It could be that we need to re-sign existing customers. So it might be they're on a different platform, you're going to re-sign them onto iPECS Cloud. But I guess one thing that we should be looking to try to do is to sell more product to either the new customers or the existing customers as well. Rich has touched on the importance of standing out in the crowded market, and I know Lewis is going to expand on that further in his session following this one. But I wanted to take you some of the practical steps that we're doing at Pragma to try and help you win in the market. So I think one of the things that is clear to me is that, you know, when you talk to customers, and I think obviously most of you know that my previous experience is 30 years in the sales environment, it's trying to identify the buttons to push, the thing to talk to the customer about that's going to make them sign on the dotted line. And for some customers, it might be keeping it simple and very, very focused on the budget, so that they recognise that they can buy a fairly low cost alternative to get them started. For some, it might be that they need to understand and know all of the whizzy techie kind of stuff that we've got going on, AI, automation, contact center, all of the fantastic things that we've got going on. Even though they're not going to necessarily buy it from day one, they need to know that the capability is there, so that when their business requires it, they're ready to go, and that they've got a product they're engaging in that's going to enable them to do that. And I think one of the things that we see quite regularly when we're analysing the cloud seats that we've got on the iPECS Cloud and the attachment of applications is that lots and lots and lots of customers do the former. They buy a fairly low cost alternative, fairly simple. It might be that they take some iPECS 1 licenses, but it's unlikely that they've got lots of other applications. So one of the things that we see as a real opportunity is to be able to drive some of those applications attachment, because one of the things that does for you is it grows your monthly recurring revenue. If we can attach more value to the customer, if we can attach more applications to those cloud seats, whether it's from day one or whether it's going back to those customers at some point during the contract, it gives us that ability to be able to keep growing the revenue from those existing customers. And in fact, when you start looking and doing some analysis, there's lots and lots and lots of data out there on, you know, whether we should focus on acquisition or retention of customers. There were some interesting statistics, and I did cover these in Ideas Lab, but I think they're really, really useful and interesting. So I found that 44% of businesses focus on customer acquisition, but only 18% focus on customer retention. So lots and lots of activity going on attracting new customers, but not so much on keeping the ones you've got. And of course, your customers today are somebody else's new customer tomorrow. So I think we need to try to remember to wrap our arms around those existing customers. 76% of companies agree that the customer lifetime value is an important concept in their organisation. But another statistic, only 42% of companies can accurately measure the lifetime value of their customers. So again, having that long term, if you're signing a customer for the 5-year term, what can we add to that customer to give them that kind of overall longer term value? But the one that was really important to me was that the probability of selling to an existing customer is between 60 and 70%. So actually our existing customer base is a rich sort of pool of data for us to be able to try and go back. If we can try and go back to those customers and sell them more and attach more value to those customers, we've got a really, really high chance of being able to win that. So yeah, the 60 to 70% on retention. So with that in mind, we started to build a range of digital marketing toolkits that really ultimately right now are designed to help you target your existing customers, and really thinking about those customers that chose the simple cost-effective route but aren't currently adding very much to your monthly recurring revenue. One of the many benefits of selling iPECS Cloud is the availability of the 90-day trial licenses. So what we wanted to try to do was give a real focus on the value of these and how you can use them. So there are things available for things like iPECS Analytics, all of the different licenses for iPECS 1, even ACD. So again, trying to help a customer understand the value of some of the added value in ACD, and also that real-time capability and tracking that it gives you in analytics, and even things like Conference Bridge, you know, being able able to manage and host an audio conference through a web tool as well. So we know that salespeople try to look for opportunities to sell these at the point of sale, but often customers are focused on the budget rather than the solution, rather than the value of the product is going to give them in terms of benefits. So I think one of the things that would be really beneficial in all of your businesses is to try to look for a way of being able to appoint the trial license for the things they haven't bought. So let's say you've got a customer going live today. I think a good timing would be about a month after go live date. So allow the customer to get that settling in period. They haven't taken analytics from day one, for example, but a month into the contract, maybe do a kind of a customer satisfaction call. And at that point, implement the 90-day trial licenses. At that point, they've got, 30 days of bedding in that they've already had with that. Apply the 90-day trial license, set them up with some automated reports so they can start to see the value of analytics. And hopefully at the end of that 90-day trial, they won't want to have that switched off. They'll see the value of it, even though they didn't sign for it from day one. And you'll start to very, very quickly add the value of that monthly recurring revenue. But I think there's also a real value here in being able to go back to your longer standing customers, people that have had cloud for a little bit longer, and trying to have an opportunity to add something new to them. It will make it much harder for them to move away from you as well if they start to rely on something like analytics. So I touched on this at Ideas Lab, but I just wanted to kind of give you the full detail of the analytics toolkit. So we've taken an approach here where we've provided some content for you and also for your customer. So for you, the first thing that we provide is a full slide deck, providing all of the key points and the product information, and also the details of how to run the campaign. Ideally, what we would recommend here is that one of our account managers runs this slide deck for you as a training session for anyone that's going to be involved in the campaign, making sure that they're fully armed and capable to understand everything about the product. But to back that up, there's a 5-minute sales guide. We've provided some social posts for you to be able to utilise through the campaign. Things like frequently asked questions just to keep to hand, so that when the salespeople are managing the campaign, they've got really quick and easy access to all of this information. And for analytics, we've also done an analytics versus iCall suite kind of cheat sheet, just to try to remind you, for if you've got customers that have got the historic iCall suite, it just helps them to maybe look at migrating them away onto analytics. And then to help you attract your customers, you've got an HTML mailer, access to all of the brochures, links to all the videos, which are explainer videos and case studies, and also a slide deck we've created that would help your sales teams to be able to explain the product to your end users, so a little bit of a softer kind of version. So here's a little view of the 5-minute sales guide. So again, 2 pages, just to reiterate, what are the key benefits? What are the who are the people that you would need to speak to about this that are going to engage in analytics and see it as a value? What are those key features and benefits, just to help them, again, just keep it to hand. Anyone that's in the telesales department or in the sales department that's involved in the campaign, it's just a quick reference guide as to everything they learn on the training course. The HTML mailer, again, that can be tailored. You can obviously add your own logos. You can you'll need to obviously customize the buttons, so that if you're going to send it out to people and they want to click the button to start their free trial, it's important to have a call to action there so that they can start to engage in this. We can obviously help you with that if you haven't got the capabilities in-house. And then the social posts, again, taking some of the graphics from the HTML mailer, so it links together, and versions of this that are available referencing the 90-day trial logo, but also without, depending on how you want to utilise that. And then there's the frequently asked questions as well, so a bit small to read. So I guess really the way to think about this is, how to get the best results of this. I would look at it in 2 ways, really. I would say the first is the sales engagement. So from your perspective, identify the customer data, send out the HTML, whether you do that in one big batch or break it down into small batches, but make sure that you've got somebody that can follow up with a phone call, offering them a demonstration, talking to them about the 90-day free trial. And then once that 90-day free trial is in full swing, make sure that you have a follow-up to speak to the customer to confirm if they're going to keep it or remove it. As long as you've removed the license before the 90-day finishes, you won't be charged. As soon as it trips into the 91st day, you will start to be billed for that, as will the customer. But you also need to have a plan for how you're going to manage this from a technical perspective. So they need to understand how to implement the 90-day free trial, make sure that they've got some data available to share the user guide. There are quick start videos available on our YouTube channel, and also set up those scheduled reports so that immediately the customer is going to start to get emails with that really important data that's going to make them want to engage in this product, understand more, and critically, they won't want to have it switched off at the end of the 90 days. A whole load of resources, two different places for this. You've got the hub, which is our central point for storing all of our product information. So loads of information and links available in the PowerPoint presentation, and also our YouTube channels where you'll find all of the different kind of explainer videos and quick start guides as well. So obviously, as I've referenced, our sales team are geared up and ready to go, and really, really keen to engage in your businesses and work with you to run a campaign. I think it would be really important to work with them so that they can kick off the campaign with that training session and work with you to help and understand the outcomes of this. We're really keen to make sure that what we're doing is working for you, and we can tweak and change things if it's not. And following hot on the heels of analytics, we're going to be introducing an iPECS cloud toolkit, because we feel that there are two things really happening. One, you've got existing customers that may be on a legacy platform, lots of people still on-prem with the ISDN switch off still are really relevant and hotting up in terms of a subject matter. I think at the moment it's a really, really good time to start targeting customers that are still on-prem systems. So we're going to kind of target that from a couple of different angles. Anywhere for iPECS Cloud, our mobile solution, I think, has got some really, really good differentiators that are going to give you some good subject matter to target customers. And then we're also going to do things like PCI and contact, and a plan to maybe introduce some verticals as well. Certainly with healthcare being a hot topic at the moment, it seems like a really good opportunity to start to look at doing some toolkits that might be more vertically focused, following on from the product ones. So just finishing off on my section, just to say two things really. We've obviously got, I've referenced already, the hub, which is our central point for managing all of our communication with you as our partners. And there's a refresh coming with the hub coming very shortly. But we've also got our YouTube channels. There are two. We've got the We Are Pragma channel and also the Quick Start channel. So as we referenced, really don't forget to go to these and hit the subscribe button so that you get notified of any new videos that we add. We're very active in trying to create new video content, and obviously all of that content is for you to share. But also please make sure that you do follow and like all of our social channels, LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter, where we keep regular posts going. GetCrisp really support us with this and live all of the things that they're talking about in the two sessions that Rich and Lewis are doing for us today as well. So it'd be really good to make sure that you're following and sharing all of the content from there, which hopefully will add value to you as well. So just in summary, I guess a couple of things really. One is identify the opportunity to introduce a program to use the 90-day trial for your new customers, so you're not missing out on the opportunity to very quickly capitalize on adding to the value of the lifetime of those contracts. Create a campaign to use the analytics toolkit, and look out for all the new toolkits that we've got coming along in the next couple of weeks. So quick whistle stop tour from me on my section, and I'm now going to hand over to Lewis, who's going to take us through his section, which is organic growth in a crowded market. So Lewis, over to you.
Thanks, Helen. So yeah, I'm going to talk through organic growth in a crowded market. As you can probably tell, that's a fancy way of saying SEO for telecoms. So we're going to have a look how you can drive some relevant traffic to your website. So the first thing that you need to have a think about before we look at a content strategy is, from a technical point of view, is there anything that's going to stop Google from sending traffic to your site? So if you think of your website as a digital shopfront, has your website essentially got broken windows, things in the aisles, or reasons why Google wouldn't want to signpost people to come your way? So there's some easy ways to check that. There's a few different tools that you can use online which will give you an SEO report. So there's SEMrush, Ahrefs. They both have low cost options, and there's also obviously Candio's own website optimizer. So this will run a report on your website and give you just an overview of anything that's in the way. So some of the most common errors that we see missing meta descriptions, alt tags, H1 tags. These are essentially ways that Google will analyze your content. Broken links, so if there's links on your site that stop users from going from one page to another, again, that's a big red flag. And then sort of a bit more technical, you've got unminified images, CSS, JavaScript. This is essentially how your site compresses the content, and then also website speed plays a massive part of how Google analyze your website. So just as a little example here, so all of these things you can do yourself. There's a free plugin called Yoast SEO, which is a really useful way if you've got a WordPress site that you can update your meta descriptions and your title tags. So you can see, obviously, this is your search results on Google. Your H1 tags you can set so that it comes through as your page title here, and your meta descriptions also show. So these are just some basic things that if you've not if they're not up to date on your website, Google will mark your site down and will not send traffic your way, essentially, no matter what the content you're doing. So once you've got your website in order, you've got your technical SEO sorted, what you want to do is start looking at a content strategy. So one of the main pitfalls that people often fall into is thinking just about individual keywords or really core keywords and not focusing on a wider topic. So you might think, okay, well, I just want to focus on phone systems. That's all I want to sell. But obviously, if you're just looking at phone systems and you're competing with everyone out there, you're competing with BT, all these sort of guys. And what we want to try and do is take a much more detailed look, really, on the topics that your audience are going to be looking for. So if you have a think about what your niche is, it might be a particular industry vertical that you want to target. It might be a location, and then have a think about who your audience are that you want to be talking to. Try and really understand what are the questions, what are the pain points they have, what are the main things they were going to Google for. And I think if you think of a topic as a whole, then there's a whole sort of family of keywords that will come with that topic. And what we want to try and do is make sure we're covering all of those keywords and not just thinking of the root keyword of phone systems, for example. So the way that we can do this is we can create what's called pillar content. So that might be a service page, it might be a core article that has an overview of that topic. So you might pick phone systems for healthcare, for example, as a relevant one at the moment. So you're going to have a landing page which has got an overview of that content, and then we're going to have separate clustered content, so individual pages, blog posts that take more of a deep dive into individual search terms that people might be searching for, individual pain points. So once you've decided how you want to approach this, what your topic's going to be, then you obviously need to start thinking about how you're going to start writing your content. Again, one of the main pitfalls that people fall into is trying to overcomplicate the content that they write. And actually, readability is a massive factor on how Google prioritizes your website. And actually, the ideal reading age that you should be targeting is 12 years old. So one of the things that you can do to make sure you're hitting that reading age, make sure that your sentences aren't too long. I think only you need to make sure that only 25% of your sentences contain over 20 words. Everything else needs to be really short and easy to digest. And you need to make sure that your content as well is broken down into an easy way to skim. So if you run sort of a skim reading test, essentially, can you skim over your page and get a full sense of exactly what the user should be taking away from that? And when you're trying to come up with content ideas as well, use your support teams. So obviously you've got your keyword research, you've got an idea of what people might be searching for, but if you speak to your support teams, you can get a real understanding of exactly what are people emailing you, what are people calling and asking for, because you can be sure if your customers are calling you and emailing you, there's people out there that are also pushing that into Google. I think, again, going back to the not overcomplicating things, ask your support teams, how are people phrasing the questions that are being fielded? So it might be that it's a question about call routing, but the average user doesn't know that term. So what terms are they using? Use that to be part of your strategy. And then what we essentially want to do is make sure we're answering in the easiest possible way, the simplest possible way, answering those questions and those pain points that users have, so you can then position yourself as a trusted source. Obviously, Richard mentioned earlier that the ideal content length is at least 800 words. It can be a time-consuming process to do this, but the content that you create can then be repurposed and used across your social feeds as well. So you can have social posts that link back to that content. You can use them also, that content, as articles, as Richard mentioned. So there's no SEO conflict from having an article posted on your website and also posting the article onto LinkedIn. So once you've got a content strategy, you've got a topic, you've got your articles, you've started posting. The main thing that you need to look at here is make sure you really understand the data. And there's 2 free tools that you can use for this that everyone should have connected with their website. So that's Google Analytics and Google Search Console. So with Google Analytics, you'll get to really understand what traffic's coming to your website. We often find that, I mean, everyone knows SEO is not an overnight process. We often find that we'll post an article and it might be 3-6 months, even 9-12 months until suddenly that article will start to get some traction. So make sure that you really understand from Google Analytics what pages are being looked at, who's coming to your site, and then you can start making sure that you've got, if suddenly one article starts to get a lot of traction, you can then look at other terms related to that article. And the same thing with Google Search Console. So from here, you can really understand what users are actually searching into Google to find your site. So I think with the whole confirmation bias, it's quite easy to assume that people are searching for the title of your blog or your article, whereas actually they might be looking for something else. And this sort of ties into the whole user journey. So you need to then make sure, if you can see from analytics, you're getting a load of traffic for one article, from Google Search Console, have a look what those users are actually searching to find that article, go back to the article and make sure that the content that you've got in there covers what people are searching for, because obviously you want to make sure that when the users come to your website, they stay on your website. So you want to make sure that it's all relevant. Again, because content can often take 6-9 months to start gaining traction, it's really important to make sure you go back to that content, make sure it's relevant, make sure it's up to date and nothing on there is outdated. And then the main thing from that, once you've got your users to your site, where do you want them to go next? Do you want them, have they landed on your pillar content? Do you want them to have a deeper dive into your website? Or at that point, do you want them to pick up the phone or send you a message? So make sure you've got some strong call to actions on those pages, and test. Try different things. Make sure that you can see what's working and who's coming through to you. So just a bit of a summary. I think the first thing for your SEO strategy, get your house in order. Make sure that from a technical point of view, there's no blockages or no reasons why Google wouldn't send any traffic your way. Focus on topics and not keywords. So try and really have don't like the word, but a holistic approach to your strategy, and then cover a range of keywords that people are going to search for those terms. Make sure you're creating content that's made for people, not search engines. It's, again, target reading age of 12 should be really easy for people to skim read your content and get a sense of the information. And then make sure you understand what's happening, analyze your data, what content's working, what are people searching for to find your site, and then adjust the content accordingly. So that's me. I think handing back over to Helen.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lewis. That's really, really useful. So they're the 3 core sections that we were running for you today. There's one little extra one that we want to add in. We recognise that not every one of our partners has got a formal marketing team and capability. And I think you've seen today through what Rich and Lewis have shared that there's some really great opportunity out there to drive some really proactive marketing capability. So I'm going to hand back over to Rich, who's going to take you through a little bit more as to what GetCrisp can offer their services to you as.
Great, thanks, Helen. Just before I run through that, actually, if anyone has any questions from anything we've run through today, if they want to put that in the comments or the chat section of this session, we'll answer and run through all of those questions at the end. We've only got about a minute or two to run through now, so yeah, get your questions in quickly. Yeah, going back to what Helen was saying, so what we've done and worked with Pragma to create is to create some kind of packages that we really know works for the industry, and also offer a significant discount on those packages as well. So we've got social plans, which again, obviously, we're making sure we're doing everything that we're recommended on this chat now, but essentially we're doing a mixture of social posts, but animated content, multiple image graphics, and so on. So we can manage that for you if you don't have that capability in house. We also have content and SEO packages as well. Again, making sure we're doing at least 4 blog posts per month in those packages, and yeah, everything's obviously optimized. Helen will be sending a follow-up email with which will include all of this as well. One thing we haven't really covered today, but we also offer for clients who are looking for more lead generation, essentially, but a kind of a quicker route to market. We also offer some sales support packages where we actually work alongside your sales team, but create plain text email campaigns to existing contact data you might have, or cross-selling services to existing clients. So it might be a good way of cross-selling those additional licenses that Helen was talking about earlier. Or also we offer a full marketing retainer, again, really heavily discounted for all Pragma partners, which covers the social, content, SEO. Plus, we also create a full 12-month marketing strategy, content strategy, and we also do local search optimization to get you ranking in your local area. So that is kind of it. Didn't want to spend too long on this section. So to kind of hand back to Helen now, and just to check if we've got any questions.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, can't see any that have been raised so far. So don't be shy, everyone. If you have got anything to ask, go ahead.
Even if it's general marketing or stuff that hasn't been covered, we're happy to answer that. We've obviously covered everything.
Must have done, yeah, very good. Good job. Brilliant. Well, look, thanks again, all of you, for taking part in our first marketing focused event. We'll obviously plan to do these more regularly as we have things to share. And I will do a follow-up to share the slide decks and also the offer that Rich has kindly put forward for you all to engage in. And yeah, look forward to seeing lots and lots of activity with the marketing toolkits as well. And shout if there's anything that you need from us. But thanks very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.